Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Great Awakening Generator. We are doing the Dr. Darag Speaks series. I am Rose McNair, and here is Dr. Darag Rennie. Hello, Darag.
Hey, Rose. Hi, everyone.
How are you today?
I'm very good.
Yeah, you said you were chilled.
Very
I like hearing. I'm just chilled at the moment.
good.
Many of us can't say that I'm just chilled at the moment,
Yeah, I think I popped through a certain level of anxiety that was an undercurrent that was playing.
Okay, yeah. Something shifted, do you think, in the last 48 hours?
Oh, no, for me, it happened a few weeks ago. So,
Good.
yeah,
Yeah, every one of us at a different stage of these things, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I something popped for me like in the last 48 hours, and I was in a weird state, and suddenly in the last, say, 24, I was like, as of yesterday, I was like, I'm shining, I'm feeling okay, I
Good,
feel
good.
light. What happened here? What went? Must be all that sunshine we had yesterday in Auckland, right?
Yeah, and more today.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, initially today didn't look like that, but we went out to walk in the McLean's Reserve, and it was awesome. So,
Yeah,
so many people out and all of that. And it's great. It's school holidays, and children should have the benefit of good weather. Yes.
absolutely. And I think ski fields probably are open, so they're probably enjoying it down there too.
Yeah. I meant to ask you, and I know we probably should have asked this out of recording, how are things after your ski experience? Because I thought about it afterwards, and I thought, being stuck up on that mountain like that, I know you were so calm about it when we talked, but it must have been an intense experience.
More intense for Sally than me.
Okay.
And I think I'm okay. I don't have that same physical sense of being threatened as a lot of women have, and Sally does.
Yes.
So for me, I'm more comfortable in my body around wind. I mean, I used to windsurf when I was younger, so
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
the stronger the wind, the better.
Okay. So some people don't like the wind, right?
Yeah, no,
And for me, I like specific wind. I don't like, that's weird to say that, but anyway, I like the wind at specific times, not necessarily all the time. And I feel specific, I feel sounds from the wind are telling me something. Like there is the Mercury wind. So when Mercury is in retrograde, there's a different wind sound
okay,
that I have.
yeah,
And then when Jupiter is in retrograde, there's the Jupiter wind. And that Jupiter wind feels like it's high, and it's coming coming at me in waves, and it's warm.
hmm.
The Mercury wave makes me feel weird. It makes me feel a little bit apprehensive. So interesting that you say that about Sally. And I don't know that it's just about, I don't know that it's just about being a woman. I don't know what it is about, but maybe it's about a birth chart or something. I don't know. But anyway, we are
Yeah,
digressing.
no, that's they're looking at the different planetary winds and how that affects things. That's new information for me.
I know, but I say this to you out of instinct, what I
Yeah,
instinctively think at the time. I don't even know if there's a fact about it, or if there's anybody who's written about that. But that is how I
yeah.
feel. And I noticed that I would think, oh, why am I when Jupiter's in retrograde, and I hear, oh, why am I hearing this wind? But I don't feel frightened by it, and I feel okay with it. It's almost like I want to stand outside in it.
Hmm.
But anyway, there you go. Maybe my time on Jupiter was very different from my time on Mercury, but I do love the planets, both of them, very much. Our topic today is our greatest fear, love. Wow.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I start a chapter in my book with the experience I had with Sally when we were just initially getting together, and it's difficult to tell the story even now. When we'd just been together a couple of months, if that, and I went overseas for training. I was in New York, and she called me up and said in a way that just melted my heart that she was pregnant and she was coming over to be with me.
Wow.
And it was just if anyone was ever going to tell me they were pregnant with my baby, that would have been, or our baby, that would have been the way. And she completely, my heart just completely opened.
Wow.
And but that's not the end of the story. because it closed completely within minutes.
Ah,
And
okay.
I just felt like this steel wall come down between us, and it just it's almost like it had centered as it closed down my eyelids, and it hit the floor and locked itself shut.
Wow.
And so that was an incredibly visceral experience. So I said no to Sally and the relationship at that point, and we went through our own issues with that. By the time I got home, she'd had an abortion, and she was, majorly traumatized. And we were in a public setting. We were working with a group called the Loving Relationships Training, and so we were leading assistance teams to help us put on those events. And so it happened very publicly for both of us. And uh, and for a while it looked like we had separated, but then, because we're in the same environment, we eventually got back together. And there was a moment where we both remember, after all that pain, that we still, even though we didn't. Have you ever done that thing where you've created a list for your ideal partner, what they look like, and
Oh yeah, I have.
yeah. So neither of us looked like our ideal partners.
You,
I was
ne- the-
definitely,
the-
I was
you never
definitely not.
find that person who does, actually.
No, I was definitely not tall, dark, and handsome. and and
Yeah.
but we've just felt how we felt together was how we wanted to feel in a relationship, and it was about love and about being able to trust that love.
Yeah.
And so, through that whole experience, I just realized how scary love was, and how easy it was to shut it out,
Yeah. Wow.
and how it took time to open up to it again. And I think that's what happens when we fall in love, or we feel that depth of love. It's almost like, oh, that either it can't be real, or so it can't be trusted, or the last time I felt like this, I got really hurt, um, or it's just not possible to feel like that, or it distracts me from other things I want to do in the world. You know,
Yeah.
that whole, I think about Pride and Prejudice, that whole idea of two people that fall in love but can't get it together because of how they, are going through different paths in society.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing, is that we are afraid of love, and it comes back to, someone said today and asked me a question on Facebook. I mentioned, and I think I say it in my in the book. If someone's got love and hate, tattooed on their knuckles, and if they've got it like love hate, we loving hate, or if they've got it the other way around, hate love, it's still focused on hate.
Yeah.
And there's the idea, and she came back to me with the idea that, well, life is a duality, and if you don't know one, you can never know the other.
Yeah.
And but then my response to that was, well, I'd actually like to believe in a love that's beyond the duality, that beyond good and evil, there is something that is real,
Yes.
and that
Yes.
there is a love that doesn't have an opposite. And that's
Yeah.
what we need to focus on, is reconnecting with that. So it's not seeing love and hate as a duality, but seeing seeing that's a process that happens, but love is the all existent factor.
Mm. Mm. Wow. You just loaded us down now, didn't you? You just gave us something. You just smacked it in the face. I'm just gonna say that, because wow, that's I, I'm hearing what you're saying in terms of love, that there should not be one, or there should not be a duality in it. It should just be love. Love is love, whatever, you know. It stands completely on its own. It doesn't need to have an opposite to it. Is that what I'm hearing here? It doesn't have to have an opposite in it. And of course, we live on a planet of polarities, and we live in a planet where we've been brought up and ingrained with this good, bad, black, white, love, hate, that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. So we part of the process, I believe, is that the journey to come to that complete love and know know it in its completeness is what you've just been talking about. Okay, love and hate. It would seem that this journey we're taking, in order to know what love is, or in order to know what hate is, in order to know that you hate that thing, you need to know how it feels to love that thing. So and we've been taught that. I'm not saying that it's the right way. I'm saying it's what's been ingrained in us, and perhaps it's part of that process. But I want to come back to this, and I know that you relayed your personal experience now, your very personal story, because it's in the book, and you obviously feel okay to talk about it and to write about it. I see a lot of love still in all of this, because whilst it was 2 months, and I understand where you were at, but I see a lot of love in this, because it takes a lot of love to have. It takes having a lot of love for somebody, or for life, or an understanding and compassion and forgiveness from a woman's perspective, to say, yeah, I'll go out with you again and we'll have a life together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that's I'm saying it because this is the specific situation, right? Because there was a baby involved, there was a pregnancy. There was a pregnancy involved. So I think there in itself, that's big love, isn't it? That's love.
Yeah, it is.
To be able to come back from that.
Yeah.
Because most people I know won't be able to do that. So.
Yeah. So it was a recognition of the love that was there between us, that I guess that, there's an approach avoidance thing to that. That it was hard for me to acknowledge. But something, it's about recognizing our own need for love.
Yeah. But you were clearly scared. You were clearly fearful. That is probably what the response was all about. Yeah.
And in the background, I mean, it's not an excuse, but in the background, my dad was actually dying, and I didn't realize it.
Okay.
When I moved over from New York to Seattle for the part of the training event, called on my dad to wish him happy birthday, and he died. And he would have been in deathbed, dying about the same time as Sally called me in New York.
Wow.
So there's that part where we were all connected, and so there was that whole life and death, love and death thing coming through. And but getting back to the idea that until we acknowledge our need for that love, and I mean a love that's beyond everything, and realize that's what we're looking for here. We're not really looking for anything else.
I think that's absolutely right. We're not really looking for anything else. Yes.
Sorry, that was Boots. Sasha's here at the moment. She's doing some gardening outside, and Boots heard her wrapping her trowel on a bucket, and so the barking was her racing.
It's okay. Anything can happen on this show.
He's just unplugged my computer, so I'll just plug it.
Okay, no worries.
And and that's where I think the fear of love comes in. We've been taught to be afraid of, the religions teach, be afraid of God. You should fear God, because then you'll do the right thing. It's like if you're not scared shitless, you won't be a good person.
Yeah. That fear comes from all angles, right? It comes from, when you think about it, and just using your situation in particular, we'll talk about that. It's like the fear is, how am I going to do this? It's too soon in my life to be a parent. I've got this, that's not the plan I was told for my life. And I'm supposed to fulfill that plan. And how does a baby fit in? Could I cope with it? I don't know if I could cope with that, all that stuff. So, but yeah, well, I had an experience this week with about fear, and I'm like I said earlier, there was, we have a family member unwell, and it's terminally ill, and I was like, I'm not going. I had no plans to go. I didn't see myself doing this, and I thought, and then the more I thought about it, I thought, well, no, maybe I should go. What am I supposed to do? But the fear of going and facing that,
Mm-hmm.
facing people I have not wanted to look at or see for 35 years now.
Yeah,
Can
it's a long
you
time.
imagine?
Yeah.
It's like I'm hearing the word nemesis, nemesis, nemesis. But we are having to do this. We are having to go and we are having to face it. And even family member of mine who's directly affected by this has been avoiding it for most of her life, and now she's having to deal with going there and facing it. And it's like, okay, but I believe this is the time we're clearing a lot of karma. And we also it's like, be careful what you ask the universe for, because when you say I want to transform this time and not come back, then your karma is going to have to be cleared, right?
Yeah,
So that you
yeah.
don't come back here and do it again. So yeah, no, but anyway, it's kind of, I understand. It's like, and also we inherently love. It's in us, but we seem to think we don't. We let all that stuff, that programming, the fears, the anger, all of that. It's that sitting under. The love sits there and it waits, and then it's going to grab you when you least expect it. You have to face it, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
So
I just had a thought come up with that comment you made about having this be like the last lifetime. You don't want to come back again. And it's a thought I've had in the past as well. I'm just like, but we need to watch out whether that's brought up from a fear that, oh God, I don't want to go through this again.
I
No
am so
doubt.
with you. I'm so with you on that, Darag. And I know I say that, I openly say that, and I've said that, to my higher self, on the quiet. But I also know that I've had many lifetimes here, and I've done this process many times. But I also know that at the end of the day, even if I say that, doesn't mean it's actually going to happen, because I might put my hand up again to come back to Earth. I might have, because there's a lot of fun things to do on Earth, right? And I might decide to come back to Earth anyway. It's not decided. It's not decided yet. It's definitely not decided yet. It only gets decided once I'm on the other side. So yeah, I agree. Well, but I don't, this time I don't know that it's fear. I think, have you noticed how when we think about fear, like you just told me earlier, you're in a chilled space, and that happened now, like like a few weeks back or something like that. Have you noticed how fears are things that we're actually overcoming? You think about the world we're living in at the moment. Fear is a big aspect in it.
Yeah, yeah.
The attempts at making us fearful are so blatant and out there and ridiculous and intense. Yet we still carry on here.
Yeah, the planet is boiling.
That's it. Right?
Boiling. We don't have to go to hell anymore.
No, it's down here. You know how they say the Jehovah's Witnesses say heaven and earth, heaven and hell is here on earth. Well,
yeah.
maybe that's the concept of it. I don't know. I don't say that I agree
Yeah.
with everything they say or anything they say, but so I think yeah, there's so many aspects of fear coming through.
Yeah, I've
But
noticed that just with because we're part of groups with Voices for Freedom, and there's because we're all looking at the election choices, and there's these strategies of people are afraid that if they can't convince everybody to vote the way they think they should vote, that they're almost turning the other parties in the freedom kind of perspective into enemies in that way. So it's like we need to watch. We don't let our fear make us emotionally and physically try to manipulate people by demanding they do things different.
yes.
And I think that's what I got a few weeks ago, is just that idea that no matter what happens, it'll happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's up to me and the whole thing around focusing on love as the core tenet, or the penultimate kind of position to come from and to live your life from, is that includes what happens in this election. All our choices, people will do what they do, and it's not up to us to make them wrong for that.
And respect it. Respect is very important in all of this. You cannot tell somebody who to vote for, but it's important to operate from the high platform and let people give them the information without influencing it. Or like you say, manipulation, or using fear to manipulate an outcome.
Yeah, well, it's getting caught up in our own fear that, if the others don't do what I think is best, then we're lost.
Exactly.
And that's coming from both sides.
Yeah. And I think it also makes you wonder, right? So if we fear that people won't do what we think they should do, then what is it saying about us? We think are we saying what we think they should do is the right thing? And what does it say about us and our opinions about how we view our opinions? It's the right one. It's the paramount one.
Yeah.
It says that, doesn't it? It says, I'm right. It's an interesting time, this election that we're having here, and the fear of it. There's a few things going on that I've seen come up on my my PA on the PHA's site, and there's somebody unwell, and I won't say too much about it because nothing's really out in the media. There's somebody unwell, and supposedly being refused to get what they need, and apparently something to do with the jab. But the point is, we have to respect that someone is talking about why does this family not go to the media? Why does it not come out in the open? I just sent some light today when I saw all of this come up, and I said, and you know what occurred to me at the time is we have to let people be and respect what they're choosing, because some people don't want to they don't want to invite the media spectacle into their personal lives or their health or whatever. Just because that's happening doesn't mean these people have to do exactly what other people have done and brought it to the forefront.
Yeah.
They will have various reasons for why they wouldn't want to do it. You got to respect people.
Yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I believe there's nothing to fear in this, in terms of, even with that, if that family chooses not to come forward to reveal all of that stuff, and not to go in that direction of publicity, that will be their choice. We need to respect that. Just because we think, hey, you bring it out, that means you call it out, that means you highlight the thing, be the guinea pig. No, some people don't want to do that, and we must respect. And anyway, yeah, it's not an easy thing, right, to have illness and then have it plastered all over the place.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine what that's like.
Exactly. So,
I can imagine it, but it's like someone dying. You may be able to imagine what it feels like, but until they actually die, then you don't really know.
Exactly. So, Darag, our topic. So, why do you think we have these fears? I know we've been talking a while, but what are your thoughts on why? We know that there's the programming stuff going on. What else do you think is the reason we have such fears that prevent us from love?
It's a good question. I think for me, if I go back to the original fear, like I started the book with the story of my nightmare I used to have as a kid, which was being a light and then having something underneath start to grumble, and all of a sudden the light disappears.
Yeah.
And I think if you take it right back, then our original fear is thinking that we did something wrong when we separated off from God.
Yeah.
And because of that, we think we deserve punishment of some sort. But there's that whole sense of separation which has created a thing I think it's maybe our responsibility bone, that we feel like it was our fault. And anything in life, like pain that you cause another person or things that happen, we'll tend to jump down that same path.
Yeah.
It's my fault. And if you don't like that, you'll project it onto others, and that's where it becomes their fault.
Yes.
I didn't do anything wrong, it's your fault. But it's basically the same thing. And so I think it's about that. I think it's the fundamental guilt, and that's why I call guilt the the last hurdle to get over before you can enter the kingdom of heaven, or whatever you want to call it. Into
Yeah.
that, into the field of love is you need to get over guilt, and so guilt's got to be the reason that we are afraid of it, because somewhere inside we feel guilty at a deep existential level, and it's in learning to trust love that we won't be punished. So you can, someone who's guilty won't. It's hard to feel vulnerable because you know that the punishment is coming. Whereas you drop through the vulnerability to the love, and just it's like falling into a blanket.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
rather be enveloped in that blanket than
yeah.
to go down the, having guilt, carrying guilt about something. It's like being out there in the desert without any water, because you just feel so weird. You feel like you're being hammered all the time or something like that. And it's interesting how guilt is so subtle. You can feel guilty about weird things, right? Like you can feel guilty if you slept in a little bit, or guilty if, oh, I don't have much to do, like I would, I've been feeling a little bit guilty because my last few days, I don't have anybody that I'm accountable to in the day. If I'm not having any meetings or interviews, I don't have anybody that I'm accountable to. I can say, yeah, all right, I'm not doing anything else. My work is done for the week, until the next bit of work comes in. And I feel guilty because I don't have work to do. Like, what's wrong with you, Rose? Enjoy this. I feel guilty about going out there and sitting in the garden in the sunshine and just enjoy myself. And I'm just like, well, stop it. Because life's for living. This is what you're supposed to do. If you can do that, by all means, do that.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Guilt really takes us away from the love, doesn't it? It really pushes us away from the blankets, so to speak, of that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the original source of fear is the guilt.
Yes.
And
You did this. You didn't do that, and you know what the consequence of that is.
and the pathway out is really just to fall in love with love.
Yeah.
It's like, don't be scared of it. And learn its ways, and learn the gentleness it has for us, and how it holds our lives.
Well, human beings, we have a long time. We take a long time to admit things. We even take a long time to say, I love that person,
Yeah.
and, even like, yeah, because I said it to, like, I've had so many experiences this week about that, because, we've got all this family stuff going on, right? Where yesterday my sister said to me something about me having single-handedly brought up my daughter. And I said, that's not true. All of you brought up my daughter as well. Because, my daughter, I was on my own for before she was even born. I was on my own with her. And my family, like, it was the family that brought her up together with me. It wasn't just me on my own. And I could not have done that without all these years. I've always known that, but I never came right out and said that.
Nice.
And it's like, and I said, but that's the truth. I can't move away from that factor. And it's not even like saying it because begrudgingly or anything like that. It's just, we are bonded like that. And I've, through the years, like, I have a sister I haven't spoken to for like more than 10 years. We haven't had arguments. She just chooses not to speak. But this sister was instrumental in bringing my daughter up. And I'm forever connected to her, whether she likes it or not. But, ordinarily, you wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that to anyone. And I think that's it. That is the blanket of love. That is the thing of acceptance, confession, realization, and, just saying, yeah, I'm in that cocoon that protects me. This is love. It's beyond what you making it out to be. So, yeah, lots of that. So,
and it is really universal that it happens in friendship.
True.
It's not just a one-on-one relationship, and it's learning to let that be visible and be seen. and
Yes.
shared. In a sense, it's, someone once said it's only in the giving that you experience having.
True.
Mm.
That's really true, right?
Mm.
So I know you were talking about how we, how to do it differently, feel the blanket of love, but how do you overcome? I know it's easy to say,
Mhm.
feel the blanket of love around you,
Mhm.
but what are the things we can do to feel that blanket of love and overcome fear? Uh, for me, my way of overcoming. Oh my goodness, there's the blanket of love.
Yes.
Oh, I think that's what we're talking about. Boots, you brought your blanket. Oh, you're so cute. Oh,
Um, yeah, well, I think partly it's getting back to that witnessing state. It's a it's about recognizing when you're blocking it. Like when that steel door came down in my mind, that was serious blocks. And but then we do that on a minor level, on a day-to-day basis.
yes.
And so it's realizing that, and then just deciding. It's about making a decision about who you're going to be and what you're going to represent in the world. So
Yes.
it has to come down to a fundamental decision that it's a choice.
Yeah, I'm going to be real with myself is what it comes down to. I'm going to be real and I'm going to be in tune and I'm going to be able to recognize, oh, something felt off there. That's not normal for me.
Yeah,
What I
yeah,
feel off. Like when you talk about the steel door, steel wall come down on you.
yeah.
Did you realize it at that moment?
I was in it. I wasn't.
You didn't, right?
I didn't see. I didn't have any perspective on it
Mm,
at that point. I was just in. I was I was in the cell at that point.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So realizing when you're shutting a door, and it is us that's choosing it. Like you said, did I realize it? If I could have realized it, then that would have been a good idea.
But
That
it
would,
also comes back to the level of openness we have or maturity we have in terms of being in tune with self and I think it's relationship with self, isn't it? Because if we don't know the indicators or if we don't know ourselves, then we'll keep going. You know what I'm saying? You'll keep
yeah.
going through these motions, whatever, and just say, oh no, keep going, keep going, keep going. But that's a disaster
Yeah. So it's learning
for
to
all sorts of things.
yeah, it's learning to recognize what people call your shadow.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and realize that that is a possible path to choose your shadow.
Hmm.
And but there's another path, and so it's I think if you it's about practicing that on a day-to-day basis of uh, basically it's not something love isn't something we create. It's something that's ever present. So it's not
Yes.
like you can make someone love you or make yourself feel love. It's because it's already an ongoingness,
Yeah.
and it's we're either experiencing it or not, according to how we're living our lives and which mind we're listening to. Am I listening to my mind, or am I listening to the mind of love inside me?
Mm.
And it's not that I created that love; it's just that is there.
Yeah. This is such a big concept, such a big contribution to the aspect of awakening at the moment, right? From
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, if you, yeah, what's the voice in your head? Who's the voice in your head? Is
Mm.
that your voice? Is it the voice of whatever's happening? It, I think it just, yeah, it's very important this time and space to be in tune with self. Um, and very apt for us to be talking about this because I'm sure there's somebody out there that needs to hear this. We all need to hear this, but
Yeah.
the key to this journey to being true to self and recognizing the moments and all of that is about having the relationship with self. It is about being in tune with self, and a lot of that will come from things like mindful practices and all of that. So, you know, yeah, very important. So, Darek, what else do we need to know about this topic that I haven't asked you about?
Um, on this one, I don't know if there is. I mean, we're going to do another session just to wrap it up in terms of learning from pain or pleasure,
Yes.
learning from
Okay.
joy or pain. So that could come into that section.
Yes. Okay.
Um, but in terms of this one, it always boils down to if we didn't create it, but it's there. It's like, well, what do I need to do within myself to
Mm.
stop blocking it, and how to, and therefore to open up to it? Because it's not that you can bring it on. A lot of people try
You
to,
can't bring it on. You may try for a while. You might think you're doing it, but then
yeah,
suddenly it catches up with you. Yeah.
and if you do it, it's never going to last, and it's just.
No.
So I think that's the key thing. Is I think Course says this a lot. Is our job is to seek and find the blocks to love,
Yes.
and just let them go, and
Okay.
love will just roll on in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think being open is important.
Mm,
Being open to know yourself and being open to know what that journey will bring, and to learn and to just be authentically self, isn't it? It's
mhm,
Yeah, that's it. Because I think somewhere along the line, all of us are looking for, like you say, all of us it's all about love, really. That's ultimately what that's going to bring in our completeness.
mm. Yeah, and
So
it's recognizing the need for it.
yeah.
I believe it's like until you recognize that this is what I'm really need here. Is we think we need fame or fortune, or we have these thoughts about what we need in life to be happy.
Yes.
But the key thing is we need to experience that love that we're here to experience.
Yes, absolutely.
And until we experience, I guess that's a good place. The only other thing I'd say to finish is that until we acknowledge that real deep need, then it has a hard time showing up.
Yeah.
Mm,
I think being easy with ourselves,
definitely.
just being easy and saying, it's okay. I'm okay. One day, if I feel like this and I don't understand, that's okay.
Yeah.
I will. But the fact that I acknowledged I'm in that space is the beginning of the journey to finding out what that is,
Mm,
what it is that will make me better, that what is it that will make me feel better. We're not trying to be better according to world standards. We want to be better. We want to feel better and in tune with ourselves, so that we recognize stuff that's going on. Because automatically your intuition will you'll feel misaligned to that intuition, and think, oh, what happened there, you know?
mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Mm.
that's this episode, Darek. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Darek, for talking to us about our greatest fear, love. And thank you for sharing your very personal story. That was incredible. That is an incredible thing.
Yeah, and it's experiencing things like that that help you grow.
Yeah. And also, you coming out with that, acknowledging, hey, that had happened. And even though society at that time would have had, the society that we were living in at that time would have been, yeah, they would have been so close-minded about a lot of things. And
Hmm.
to brave it and to be real about it,
Mm.
that takes a lot of, well, it shouldn't take courage. It should just be a thing we can do. But in that time, it would have taken a lot of courage, because it takes a lot of courage to stand up and say, I did this. And hey, you know what? That's what
Yeah.
I went through. And that was not how it should have gone,
Mm.
but that's what I
And
learned from it.
I don't think life has changed that much. I mean, still today, it's a big thing to share, and
Yeah.
um, and certainly more in my childhood time. It was you just didn't do things like that.
Yeah. It was taboo,
Yeah, yeah,
really.
yeah,
Yes.
and so things have changed in the last 50, 60 years, but I don't know if they've changed that much in the last 20. And there's still different opinions on that. So
Mm,
but at the same time, we all have our stories, and it's about not letting the story um, trip you up
yes.
and keep you in the mud. So
Yeah.
that self forgiveness is a big part of the whole process.
Wow. That
Mm,
is it, isn't it? That is one of the biggest things that we could do to overcome the self-forgiveness.
yeah.
Um, Whatever it is, and say, it's okay, it was like that. I'm going to be easy about it now. And from now on, I'm going to be more in tune. I'm going to be more aware. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Wonderful.
using every experience, as you say, it's being a great awakening generator, right?
It is, absolutely. Thank you for that. Right, Darag, anything else before we say goodbye to everybody?
Oh, no, we'll keep talking. We're going to say some more on another episode.
Yeah, we will definitely be saying more in another episode. Well, everyone, Darag, thank you so much for your time. And we always appreciate having you chat here on the Great Awakening Generator. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We'll catch you next time here on the Great Awakening Generator. Bye-bye.